Hello everyone, welcome back to the 5 Minute Tech channel. This is the part 4 of the series Polyglot Microservices architecture based full stack development, and today we'll be talking about reverse proxy and load balancing using HAProxy in microservices. So let's get started. So this is our whole architecture which we'll be working on, and the HAProxy sits in front of the application, the micro front end layer as well as the microservices layer, and that is the layer which is used to connect the users with the application. And this is the module which I've highlighted here, which we'll be covering in this video. So what is reverse proxy? Reverse proxy is a server or load balancer that sits between client devices such as a web browser or APIs and a web server, forwarding client requests onward and then returning the server's responses to the clients. This intermediary between users and web servers works on the behalf of the server and not on the behalf of the clients like a forward proxy would. So forward proxy is a different concept, and it ensures that no client can communicate directly with a backend server. A reverse proxy provides numerous performance benefits and security and scalability enhancements for the web application and APIs. Now these are some of the features which it provides: load balancing, filtering and firewall protection, caching and SSL termination. How does the reverse proxy work? As I mentioned, a reverse proxy sits between the client and the web server. A client sends a request while attempting to access the web app or the API. It could be either an application or an API. The reverse proxy receives this request, and then the reverse proxy forwards that request to the appropriate web server. Reverse proxy will often filter out invalid requests, so there will be conditions which you mention in the configuration file, which on basis of which that it will filter it out and forwards only the legitimate requests. The reverse proxy functions as a load balancer as well. It distributes the workload between different web servers. The web server processes a request and generates the response, and the reverse proxy then receives the server response and forwards it to the client. The server can bypass the proxy, however, when direct server return is enabled. So these are some of the popular proxies and the load balancers. You would have heard about Squid, Nginx, Traffic and Proxy, and we are talking here about the HAProxy. So this is the basic chart about the differences between all these kind of reverse proxies, and also the something time referred as the load balancers. So what is HAProxy? HAProxy is high availability proxy, which is an open source software that provides a high availability load balancer and a proxy server for TCP and HTTP based communication. Now it can be used for enterprise application, and it operates on principles of distributing a workload across multiple servers to optimize resource usage, maximize throughput, minimize response time, and avoids overload on any single server through load balancing. HAProxy was first introduced in 2001 by Willie Terrio, who was looking for a solution to improve the reliability and performance of a web service. Over the years, it evolved significantly and has become the standard of the industry for load balancing solutions. It is widely adopted on many high-profile companies, including Twitter, Airbnb, and GitHub, due to its robustness, flexibility, and efficiency. HAProxy as reverse proxy is a robust open-source load balancer, as we talked about, and proxy server. It plays a crucial role in managing network traffic, ensuring high availability, improving the performance of the web services and all. HAProxy also offers a range of features including load balancing, SSL support, health checks, and session persistence. These features makes it versatile tool for web server administration. Setting up HAProxy involves installation, and we'll be talking in more detail about it, and configuration and regular monitoring. It's essential to understand the common pitfalls and how to avoid them or ensure optimal performance. Optimizing HAProxy involves tuning the configuration, enabling the compression and SSL offloading, and keeping the software updated. Regular troubleshooting and monitoring are key to maintaining the high performance and quickly resolving any issue that may arise. Now this is the architecture of the HAProxy front end, optional defaults, and the back end. The front end consists of the front end defines how requests are processed. It specifies the IP addresses and ports on which HAProxy listens for the incoming request. It also includes setting for handling client requests such as SSL termination and ACL access control list for the routing. Now the backend defines where the requests are being sent to. It includes pool of servers that handles the request forwarded by the front end, and we'll talk more about it when we see the configuration file. The backend configuration also defines the load balancing algorithm used to distribute the fee request among the servers. Between the front ends and the back end, there are optional default sections that provide common settings for both front end and back end. Now, how HAProxy handles the traffic? HAProxy, the client sends for the connection to HAProxy. The HAProxy does a request analysis and the server selection. Follow that, there is a request forwarding to the web server. The web server sends the response back to the HAProxy, and then the HAProxy puts the response forwarding to the clients. Now in between there could be some connection termination, and it could end the request there itself. Now we will be setting up HAProxy in the Docker container, and I'll be walking through the complete steps now. So let's get started. So here is where we have left the application last time. We were working on the observability, and we have added the supporting services. Now we'll go back to the same folder. So let me open the folder here, and we'll go ahead and add the HAProxy in here with its own Docker compose. So let's get started. So we create a new folder called HAProxy. And in this folder we'll go ahead and let's open a notepad here. So in this notepad I will go ahead and write the docker compose YAML. So this is going to be our HAProxy docker compose YAML. So I'll go ahead and save this as a docker compose YAML file in the same folder. So I saved it as a docker compose YAML file. It has a services which is HAProxy. We're taking the latest HAProxy image. It has port bindings on 8080 and also 8080 to 8080, and it will run on a volume against for a config CFG file which we'll be writing now. And there will be two web1 and web2 for now demonstration purposes. We'll be creating HTTP the latest image web1 and web2, which we'll be trying to hit and see if it works. So moving on, we will be adding the configuration file as I talked about. So so this will be our basic configuration file. This file is where we have mentioned the global setups or settings, the defaults, which is basic. Most important one would be something around the mode which you are going to connect, and certain timeout settings. And the front end is we have provided a name as HTTP in. We are binding to port 80, and the default backend server are the servers. This default server and the backend name belongs to servers, and the server has two server, which is web1 and web2, which are both running on port 80, and these are something called as stats, which we'll be seeing on the HAProxy, which is binded to 8080, and it gives you the basic statistics on what are the clients and what is the front end and the back end for the HAProxy. So let's save this. And now go ahead and let's go ahead and open the terminal window in the same folder. So I'll go ahead and open in terminal, and here we will go ahead and run the docker compose. And before I run this, I'll just show you my Docker desktop. Docker desktop has the supporting services which we saw the last time. So I'll collapse this, and there's no other containers running right now. So let's go ahead and run this. Now let's go ahead and see the Docker container, and you see we have the HAProxy running now. Now let's go ahead and try to launch this. So first of all, let's go and see the details of this. So what we have here is we have the HAProxy latest container running on 8080, and then we have the HTTPD running on two instances of Web 1 and Web 2 on 8081 and 8082. Now let's go ahead and launch our local host to see if it redirects to 8081 and 8082. So as you see now, it connects and it works, and it redirects to the 8081 and 8082 based on the availability. Now let's go ahead and see the stats. So this is the stats for the HAProxy. We have the front end, and we have the back end as two web servers, and this is the whole stat of the HAProxy. So that was pretty much about the HAProxy setup. This is basically just two files using Docker Compose, one the configuration file and the basic setup of the HAProxy. Hope you liked the video. If you like the video, press like and subscribe to the channel. Have a nice day.